Wow, that didn't take very long at all. And holy cow, is that, you can tell that thing is sharp. You could just about carve a chicken with that blade. Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of All Trades. Welcome to another video and welcome to another product review. So let's get right into it. What we're going to be reviewing today is the All American Sharpener. And this sharpening system is what it is. It's a sharpening system. Is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's sharpen your lawnmower blades. Now we all know why it's important to have good sharp lawnmower blades, or at least you should know why it's important to have good sharp lawnmower blades. Reasons not least of which are it's healthier for your lawn if you're cutting the blades of grass off cleanly rather than tearing them off. Your clippings are smaller depending on how you manage your lawn residue. If you side discharge or if you mulch or if you bag, having a good sharp blade will make the residue much easier to handle because it'll clip the residue off in finer pieces. The other thing that it does is it's less wear and tear on your equipment. Whether you've got a push mower or a riding lawnmower, if you've got dull blades, the engine on that mower has to work that much harder to do the same job. You might have an uneven cut, maybe not all the blades of grass are getting cut cleanly, and you might have an uneven lawn when it's all said and done. There's many reasons as to why you want good sharp lawnmower blades. Now, right now you only have a couple of options. A, you can take your lawnmower blades off and you can take them into your local small engine shop and have them sharpen them for you. There's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly do that, but it can get kind of expensive at times. I've seen anywhere from $6 up to $15 to sharpen a lawnmower blade, and that's if you have them off the machine. If you can't get them off the machine, they charge you extra to remove them. Two, the other option is you can take them off yourself and grind them yourself. If you do not have a system like this, you're freehand grinding. Now, unless you've done a lot of lawnmower blades and you're really good at it, you could freehand grind your blades and it's probably okay, but you're not getting that optimal cutting angle for the way the blade was designed. Every manufacturer of lawnmower blades has their blades sharpened and cut at a specific angle, and this sharpening system will actually let you adjust the angle of the grinder and hold the grinder at the appropriate angle to get your cut angle correct. So that way you get the optimal use out of your blade. Now, they aren't giving this kit away. And I bought the swanky kit with all the adjustments and bells and whistles, but I have other intentions. What I am going to do once I get good at it, and it's, from what I understand, it shouldn't take me too long, I'm actually going to advertise in my local hometown that I will sharpen lawnmower blades, specifically in my neighborhood. And I'm going to do it for a reasonable enough price so that people come to me to sharpen their blades and help me pay for it. And two, I will have the system to do my own blades because my mower actually pulls double duty. Actually, if you really want to think about it, my mower pulls triple duty. I mow my lawn with it. My neighbor and I went together and we bought the mower together, and he mows his lawn with it because we didn't really feel the need for both of us to have a riding lawnmower, especially since we get along and we share a border. So we have made an arrangement where we share the mower. And then third, I take the mower up to my hunting cabin and I mow the lawn up at my hunting cabin. Now that's really where the blades get abused, because my hunting cabin is not your nice, clean, typical in-town suburban yard. It's kind of roughish, so it picks up a rock every now and then, and you know, sticks and trees and whatever, that little trees that are growing or whatever, and the blades take quite a beating. So the blades on my mower need to be sharpened quite regularly, so this will help out with that. So enough said, let's quit the talking, let's relocate the camera over to the bench. Let's take a look at the All American Sharpening System and do the review. Alright, the All American Sharpener. So, you know me, as always, I hate unboxings. I'm not going to do an unboxing. It came in a box, that's all you need to know. If you really want to see an unboxing, you can actually go to All American Sharpener's website and they do an unboxing. So there you go. I'll put the links to their website below. So with the All American Sharpener, what you get is you get the tool itself, you get a mounting bracket, and you get 4 arbors that are designed to go into the threaded hole where the handle goes in to the side of your grinder. Now I picked up very specifically a Chicago Electric 4.5 inch grinder just for this job, just for this sharpener. This grinder is not going to get used for anything other than sharpening lawnmower blades. So I tried to go a little on the cheaper side. I've actually had Chicago Electric grinders in the past, and they last really a long time, and I beat the hell out of my grinders. I really am not very nice to them, which is why this one's going to be dedicated to just sharpening. But for $30, I picked up a grinder. I picked up some flap disc wheels. All American Sharpener recommends that you use 40 grit flap discs. My brother uses a hard wheel, so I also picked up a 36 grit hard wheel. So I'm going to start off with the flap disc wheels so I can get kind of used to the system, and when I feel that I'm ready, I'll move up to the hard wheel. But just know All American Sharpener recommends a 40 grit flap disc wheel. Along with inside the box, you also get some instructions, and they look like they're pretty good. They've got some really nice color pictures. They've really taken some time to show you different mounting methods and procedures, which we're really not going to get too deep into. If you buy it, you'll find out for yourself. Just know that the instructions are actually pretty good. They've got all their different models in here, so you just have to select the model that you purchased and use those instructions. And it even gives you some basic angles on some of the blades. But the instructions look really good. They actually took the time to print a color instruction brochure. Their website also has some really good informative videos. So I'm really not going to get too deep into the operation of this. More than anything, I want to get it set up. I want to sharpen my blades and let you know how this thing actually works. Now, right out of the box, you pick this thing up. This is a substantial piece of equipment here. It's nice and heavy. There's the only thing plastic on the whole thing is the tightening knob here and the handle here for the blade vise. It's your basic screwdriver handle, but that's the only thing on the machine that's plastic. This thing is really well built. It's smooth. The machining is nice. The fit and finish is excellent. It's exactly what I would expect from an all-American made sharpening system. And that is something else that I was really happy about when I saw this. Was this is American made, and it's American made in Ohio. I think a couple of guys got together, or a couple of brothers actually, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's two brothers. One of them engineered it, and the other one had the concept or something like that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a couple of brothers in Ohio that decided to come up with this thing, and it's a fully American made in the USA. Means a lot to me. I really do appreciate the fact that it is, and it is really well made. It's heavy duty. The arms are nice and thick and straight, and the fit and finish is excellent. It's just a nice overall tool. So my overall impression of the tool right out of the box, automatically and immediately I'm impressed. It just seems like it's well engineered and it's well built. You get a mounting bracket, you get some screws. Like I said, you get the 4 arbors to adapt it to your grinder. And that's really all you need. And then you're up and running. And this thing is very, very simple. And it should be very, very easy to use. So overall impressions right out of the box, I'm digging this thing. They took the time to make a good instruction manual. The piece itself is really well made. So far, really happy with it. They even, and this is the unfortunate part of not doing an unboxing, the foam that actually holds the tool in the box is actually form fitted to the machine itself. So there's a lot of pride that goes into this system, and I'm very, very proud of these guys for doing such a good job and being very meticulous in what kind of a product that they're making, because they obviously put some thought into it, and it's obviously a very well-made product. So essentially, in the instructions, it gives you a couple of different ways that you can mount this thing. The way I'm going to mount it is I'm going to mount it like this, as if I was mounting it on the front edge of my bench. So basically what I have to do is I have to take that mounting bracket that they give me, put it on like this, and run the 2 screws on, and that way I can attach it to the front of a bench like such, like this. but there's a couple of different ways you can mount it. This is just the way I'm choosing to mount it, and I'm going to show you why in a little bit I have chosen to mount this, because I'm not actually going to mount this to my bench. I do not have the bench space or the shop space to leave something like this permanently set up. So you'll need a 7/32 Allen wrench. That's how big these Allen wrench bolts are. I'm going to give it a good snug down here. So the way I'm going to mount this machine is I'm going to mount it in my vise like such, because that way what I can do is I can take it off and put it away when I'm not using it to sharpen lawnmower blades. So I'm just going to clamp this thing down in my vise like so, and that's how I'm going to use the machine. So that's why I chose this mounting style. But if this is something that you want to do, just know that it's nice and solid in there. It very easily can do this job while it's mounted in a vise. That way you don't have to have it permanently affixed and attached to your bench. Now the other thing you need is you need a grinder, obviously. And like I said, I went with a Chicago Electric, a Harbor Freight grinder. I have a Harbor Freight right here in Fargo, North Dakota, where I live. And I frequent them quite often, and I've had Harbor Freight grinders in the past, and I've never had a problem with them. In fact, the last Harbor Freight grinder I purchased, I've had for the better part of 15 years, and just this year it finally broke. And it didn't break in such a way that I can't use it, so I'm still using it, and the darn thing just won't quit. So I went and I bought another Chicago Electric grinder. You're going to want to mount the handle on it, and then you just have to select the right adapter or arbor to screw it in the opposite side of your handle. So screwing this one in now. The only thing that's a mild inconvenience, especially with the Harbor Freight one, is the threads aren't real great. So it's kind of hard to grab a hold of this arbor and to spin it in. So I am going to use a small vice grip to grab a hold of the arbor and turn that in like so. And then I'm going to grab a crescent wrench, and I'm going to run the jam nut down, and I'm going to snug up the jam nut. Okay, so now my grinder is all set and ready to go and use for the sharpening system. Very, very easy. I basically just set up the sharpener here in just a few short minutes, and you saw it right here on the Jack of All Trades channel. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to set a blade in here. I've got the blades for my Cub Cadet riding lawnmower off already, and I can show you. Those blades are beat to hell. They are full of nicks and chunks missing, and they really need some attention. So we're gonna give them the due attention that they need. All right. So as I understand it, according to the instructions, this should be fairly straightforward and fairly simple. You just run this clamping vise out until it is wide enough to accept your blade. And there my blade fits in it. You center it up and you run it down and you clamp your blade down in there like such. And I don't think you have to get real torquey with this thing. And I didn't put a lot of pressure on it, and it's nice and solid in there. It's not moving. That wiggling you're seeing is actually my vise and my bench wiggling. Then what we have to do is with the arm, we take the little plastic cap off here, which is designed to protect the threads here. We take and we set our grinder, put the arbor for the grinder that we attach to it into that attachment, and then what we have to do is we have to line the center of the grinding wheel up with the blades. So I'm a little off center. I actually need to, actually it's pretty doggone close. I actually don't need to make an adjustment. But what this is this will thread in and out so that you can make adjustments to center your grinder on the blade. So you just spin this out and it will move the grinder in and out with the arm, and then you can center the grinder on your blade. But this particular grinder with my blades, all the way to the left is pretty much where I need to be. Just like that. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my crescent wrench and I'm just going to snug up that jam nut. I'm not going to get crazy silly with the torque on it. I just want to snug it up so it doesn't go loose on me while I'm using the machine. Little torque, there it is, it's snugged up. Now what we have to do is we have to adjust the angle of the blade. The only way that I can think of to do this is to actually put the grinder in the arbor, set the grinding wheel on the blade itself, and visually just look. And you can see, just look at how the grinder lays on the blade itself and make your adjustment from there. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up this thumb screw. I'm going to set my grinder on there. This blade is a 40-degree blade. Very, very clear. So once I get the machine set, you can see that the flap disc lays on the edge of the edge exactly where it should be. And you can also see that they give you a little graduation here, or a little scale on the machine itself. So you can see the tip here of this corner is pointed right at the 40-degree mark. And that's what tells you where you're lined up. It's also got some indents in here, which are hard to see in this light, and I apologize for that. But there's also some indents where you can actually feel it hit the 40-degree mark, and then when you snug up the thumb screw on the back side, it locks it down to 40 degrees. So I know these blades are set to 40 degrees. So reading the instructions, when you fire up the grinder, you just push the grinder up the blade. The machine holds the angle for you, and it should set the angle correct and give you the right cut and the right angle on your blade. And the machine does all the work. It holds the angle for you, and there should be no screwing this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear away some of these boxes so I don't start a fire, because grinders do throw sparks. We're going to plug this rig in, and we're going to start sharpening this blade. Like I said, now I'm using a 40 grit flap disc. It's the Mower discs that you can get at Harbor Freight. They're a little more expensive. I want to say they were about $6 a piece, but it says right on them 2 times the life, so they got to be good, right? Well, we'll find out. We'll see how these work. Make sure you're wearing a face shield or safety glasses when you do this. You might also consider gloves. I'm not wearing them today. So basically all it should be is a matter of running it up and letting the blade do the work. Wow, that didn't take very long at all, and holy cow, is that, you can tell that thing is sharp. That did a really nice job of sharpening up that blade. You could just about carve a chicken with that blade. You can see it's actually got an edge on it now. And it cuts, and it actually cuts. So that's a much, much sharper blade. Now I can tell it's going to take some practice, with just a little bit of practice, to make sure I get the blades to cut evenly. You can see I've got a little dip in here, and that's because of me. That's my fault. And that's because I put too much emphasis right there on the throat and not enough emphasis on there. So I'm actually going to clean that up just a little more. There you have it. You have a blade sharp enough to carve a chicken with. Well, that's thoroughly impressive. Now we got to go through, and we of course got to do the other side. And then we're going to have to balance it. That's one thing that a lot of people seem to forget when they sharpen lawnmower blades, is they forget to balance them when they're done. And I'm going to show you how to do that today too. Is we'll balance the blade when it's all finished. Well, that one went much, much better. I'm more confident with the machine now, and it only took me half a blade to get there. So really now what we need to do is we need to make sure that this blade is in balance, which is a very, very simple process actually. You don't need any really special tools or equipment. All you need is a 16-penny nail. Alright, all I've done here is I've knocked a 16-penny nail into my wall. This is a very, very simple process. Just to make sure your blade is balanced, you just take and set your blade on the nail. And you can see the blade is at an angle. It doesn't come down, it doesn't come straight. So that means this side of the blade is heavier than this side of the blade. So we need to take more material off of this side to balance it out better. So I have to take more material off to get a better balance. And there we go. We have a balanced lawnmower blade. And that took all of just a few minutes to get it done. All right, the All American Sharpener, lawnmower blade sharpening system. I got to tell you, it does a nice job. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It helps you to hold the angle of your grinder so that you can get a consistent grind all the way across your blade. It does exactly what it's advertised to do, and it does it with ease. I had very, very little trouble getting used to using the machine. Just getting the muscle memory to learn how the arm moves up and down the blade, and it was very, very simple to use. The only problem I had with this machine, and this is because of me more than anything, is when you put the arbor for your grinder in here, I had a tendency to want it to let it drift out, and that was just because I wasn't paying attention to put just a ever so little bit of pressure up against the arm to keep it seated all the way, because I wanted to let it slowly and gradually start to work out. And at one point I was actually out pretty far, but you know, even with that mistake, it didn't ruin the blade. I just pushed it in again and continued grinding, and it was just fine. There was no issues, there was no troubles. So that was the only problem I really had, and it was a me thing. It wasn't the fault of the machine. Now, the construction of the device is excellent. The machining is fantastic. The quality and the workmanship is top notch. It's American made, and it's just simply well built. And I'm very, very impressed with it. I'm very impressed with how it works. I'm very impressed with what it did, and overall function and use of the machine was it was just very impressive. It did a nice job. Now you can see there I've got the angle set at 30 degrees because that last blade I did was for a push mower, my neighbor's push mower, and that blade was a 30-degree blade. Now the only kind of blade I don't have, and I'm sorry I don't have that. It's getting a little late, and I know I've got a neighbor who's got this mulching style blade, like they show in the instructions here, where you've got the raised up portion. I don't have a blade to demonstrate on that. I will try to get one and maybe do a short later on. But if the machine works as good on the flat blade, or works as good on the two-step or the stepped blade as it does on the flat blade, I don't see that it's going to really be an issue. All right, so let's talk dollars and cents. I did a little calling around today, and here in Fargo, lawnmower blade sharpening goes for anywhere from $6 to $15 per blade. And what that price difference is whether or not it's a walk-behind mower or a rider. Understandably so, riding lawnmower blades are considerably heavier, they're considerably thicker, take more time and energy and materials to actually get the sharpening done. I understand the reason for the cost difference. With that, I bought the model 5005, and it's the Gen 2 model, and they tell me over at American Sharpening that this thing will sharpen pretty much every blade on the market, to include some of the ones that rotate in a reverse direction. So I bought the most expensive model with all the bells and whistles that has the highest level of versatility. Subsequently, it's also the most expensive, $210. Now that is an investment, understandably so. I think all told with shipping it was $221 to get it to my door. I had to buy a $30 grinder, and I bought a couple of flap discs at $6.50 a piece, so I'm into this whole setup for about $250, $260. Now, let's do the math. If you have a riding mower and you have two blades and you sharpen those blades once a year, that's $30 a year you're spending on it. It'd take you about 7 years plus change to pay for the tool, the grinder, the whole works. That all being said, if you sharpen your blades twice a season, you pay for it in half the time. Understandable. You got a mower like mine, two-bladed mower, it pulls triple duty. I sharpen my blades quite regularly. This thing, it's not going to take long to pay for it. And like I said earlier in the video, and now that I've used it and I'm confident in it that I can do this, I'm actually going to advertise in my neighborhood that I will sharpen lawnmower blades, and I'm going to charge for it. And I have no problem doing that because now I'm confident in the machine that it'll do what it needs to do and do it well. So is it worth it? Well, it really depends on your situation. $220 is an investment, and they do have less expensive models. I think they have another model that runs right around that $268-ish range. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. I think it's only got 2 angle settings, which is most of your lawnmower blades, but it's also less expensive. So you really have to determine for yourself whether or not it's useful for you. If you're like me, I think it's useful. It'll pay for itself over time. And then you also have to consider the fact that every one of the lawnmower shops or small engine shops or hardware stores that I called today that does lawnmower blade sharpening told me it's anywhere from 1 to 3 days before you get your blades back. So what does that mean? Take your blades off your mower, you put them in the truck, you drive them to the store. You drop them off, you come home. Next day, 2 days, 3 days later, you got to drive back out to that same shop. You got to pick your blades up, pay for it, and come home. So now you've just made basically 4 one-way trips or 2 round trips. Gas, time, all have to enter into the equation. How do you just make that into your justification for this piece of equipment? For me, my time is precious, and if I can do this right here in my own home, that means something to me. It means a lot, actually, to me. So for me, it's very justifiable. Now, if you own a small engine shop or you own a hardware shop and you're not offering lawnmower sharpening, this would be an easy in for you to do just exactly that. Or if you are offering lawnmower sharpening and you're doing the blades freehand, this is going to give you much better results. Unless you're a guy who's been sharpening blades for 30-some years and you can do it with your eyes closed and blindfolded, maybe you can get just as good a results. But this does a really nice job. I could take these blades into the kitchen and carve up a chicken with them tomorrow night. I wonder if my wife would let me get away with that. Hit me with a comment below. Do you think my wife would let me carve up tomorrow night's supper chicken with this? I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't buy it. At any rate, that all being said, for me it's justifiable. For you it may not be. If you just have a walk behind mower and you only sharpen your blade once a year at $6 a crack, it's probably not worth it. That all being said, this is a very well made piece of equipment, and I understand where the cost comes from because machining is not expensive or is not cheap. Materials are not getting any cheaper, and this thing is just really well built. That's got to be, shoot, that's got to be 3/8 of an inch. That's some thick, heavy duty stuff they got going on here, and the machining is high quality. It's just really well made. Props to the boys over at All American Sharpener. They did a great job. So like I say, if you own a lawnmower business or a lawnmower shop, hardware store, this would be an easy in for you. Now, if you've got a lawn mowing service and you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, a dozen mowers, I don't know why you don't have one of these yet. If you don't have one, you need to go to allamericansharpener.com and you need to order one because this will pay for itself if you have a lawn mowing business quickly. Well worth it. All that being said, I give this a 2 thumbs up. This is an excellent piece of equipment. It's expensive, yes, but it's quality made, and I'm going to have it for years, and it does a fantastic job. I'm very, very happy with it, and I have no problem whatsoever endorsing it. And understand, I'm not being paid to do this. I purchased this. This is my machine. This was my money. The boys are over at All American are not paying me for my review. I bought it. I'm happy with it. I would recommend it. So with that, if you like this kind of content and you're enjoying this channel, please hit that like and subscribe button, subscribe being the important one. Make sure you ding that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and leave me a comment. Leave me any comments you want. As long as they're clean and respectful, I accept all comments. I really do appreciate all of my comments, and I do appreciate all the subscribers. With that, this is Ed with Jack of All Trades. Thank you for riding along, and we will see you on the next video.